यमुनातीरावनचारी यमुनातीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजना। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजना। यमुना तीरावनचारी। यमुना तीरावनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तनम की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। निताई गौर प्रेमानंदे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमा श्लोके भक्तिर्भवती नैष्ठकी। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतः पदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च। श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। नमो महावदान्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामिने गौरत्विषे नमः। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna. So we are very fortunate to have amongst us His Grace Antardvipa Prabhu. So Prabhuji did his engineering from IIT Kharagpur. He was the main OC in the voice there, and many devotees are very inspired. Means IIT Kharagpur and following in its footsteps took Krishna consciousness very seriously. Prabhuji joined Iskcon Pune in 2008. I was fortunate to be with him in the PDC. Later, after PDC, Prabhuji took the service of voice coordinator, youth preaching coordinator, and one very amazing quality of Prabhuji is that he very sincerely follows the instructions of superiors, like His Grace Radhesham Prabhu. So, whatever Prabhuji gives, he sincerely tries to execute, and he guides all the voice preachers, brahmacharis in fulfilling those instructions. So Prabhuji also travels across India to various voices, temples, inspiring devotees, both in youth preaching and also Krishna consciousness. So we are very fortunate. Prabhuji is here for 3 days to give his very valuable association. He is giving us brahmachari classes and few Bhagavatam and other classes to youth. So we welcome Prabhuji by once loudly chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Rama Hare Hare. Also Prabhuji is part of Iskcon India Youth Council, basically which is for youth preaching coordination. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. So, with all the blessings of the Vaishnavas here, we will try to discuss something from this most exalted scripture, Srimad Bhagavatam. We are reading from the Canto 4, Chapter 16. Today we are having text 9 and 10. Text 9 doesn't have a purport, so I'll just read it on my own and then we'll recite text 10. आप्यायति असौलोकं वदनामृतमूर्तिना सानुरागवलोकेन विशदस्मितचारुणा. This king, Prithu Maharaj, by virtue of his affectionate glances and beautiful moon-like face, which is always smiling with great affection for the citizens, will enhance everyone's peaceful life. So we'll recite text 10. अव्यक्तवर्त्मय निगूढ़कार्यो गंभीरवेधा उपगुप्तवित्तः अनन्तमाहात्म्यगुणैकधामा पृथु प्रचेता इव संवृतात्मा. अव्यक्तवर्त्मय निगूढ़कार्यो गंभीरवेधा उपगुप्तवित्तः अनन्तमाहात्म्यगुणैकधामा पृथु प्रचेता इव संवृतात्मा. अव्यक्तवर्त्मय निगूढ़कार्यो गंभीरवेधा उपगुप्तवित्तः अनन्तमाहात्म्यगुणैकधामा पृथु प्रचेता इव संवृतात्मा. Vaishnavas. Okay. Word to word, translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Word to word. Avyakta, unmanifested. Vartma, his policies. Eshaha, this king. Nighuda, confidential. Karyaha, his activities. Gambhira, grave, secret. Vedha, his accomplishing. Upagupta, secretly kept. Vittaha, his treasury. Ananta, unlimited. Mahatmya, of glories. Guna, of good qualities. Ekadhama, the only reservoir. Prithu, King Prithu. Prachetaha, Varuna, the king of the seas. Iva, like. Samvrita, covered. Atma, self. Translation. The reciters continued, no one will be able to understand the policies the king will follow. His activities will also be very confidential, and it will not be possible for anyone to know how he will make every activity successful. His treasury will always remain unknown to everyone. He will be the reservoir of unlimited glories and good qualities. His position will be maintained and covered just as Varuna, the deity of the seas, is covered all around by water. Purport. There is a predominating deity for all the material elements, and Varuna or Pracheta is the predominating deity of the seas and the oceans. From outward appearances, the seas and the oceans are devoid of life, but a person acquainted with the sea knows that within the water exist many varieties of life. The king of that underwater kingdom is Varuna. Just as no one can understand what is going on beneath the sea, no one could understand what policy King Prithu was following to make everything successful. Indeed, King Prithu's path of diplomacy was very grave. His success was made possible because he was a reservoir of unlimited glories and qualities. The word Upagupta Vittaha is very significant in this verse. It indicates that no one would know the extent of the riches King Prithu would confidentially keep. The idea is that not only the king, but everyone should keep his hard-earned money confidentially and secretly, so that in due course of time the money can be spent for good practical purposes. In Kali Yuga, however, the king or government has no well-protected treasury, and the only means of circulation is currency notes made of paper. Thus, in times of distress, the government artificially inflates the currency by simply printing papers, and this artificially raises the price of commodities. And the general condition of the citizens becomes very precarious. Thus, keeping one's money very secretly is an old practice, for we find this practice present even during the reign of Maharaj Prithu. Just as the king has the right to keep his treasury confidential and secret, the people should also keep their individual earnings a secret. There is no fault in such dealings. The main point is that everyone should be trained in the system of Varnashram Dharma, so that the money is spent only for good causes and nothing else. Hare Krishna. I seek the blessings of all the assembled Vaishnavas, especially His Grace Anandmaya Prabhu, to speak something in repeating the words of the previous Acharyas, Srila Prabhupada, to extol the glories as mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, the Amal Puran, and to please all the Vaishnavas and the deities, Srila Prabhupada, and to purify my own heart. So this is a very beautiful section of Srimad Bhagavatam. In Canto 4, the description of King Prithu's rule comes. King Prithu is the administrative potency of the Lord. He is the incarnation of the Lord, Shakti Avishavatar, who is actually exhibiting how one should be an ideal ruler. We have many such personalities. When Lord personally came as Lord Ram also, he exhibited such potency. Here he is Shakti Avishavatar, and he is exhibiting ideal rule in the world. So there's a lot to learn from him. And in this section, where praise of King Prithu by the professional reciters is being done. Jai Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan Ji ki Jai, Shri Shri Jagannath Baldev Subhadra ki Jai, Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki Jai. Try to. All my notes are logged in the laptop. Anyway, so King Prithu was a very ideal ruler, and there are many wonderful things are mentioned about his ideal rule. First of all, in his personal practice, he was very properly doing worship of the Lord. He was always subordinate to the Vaishnavas. He was obedient servant, it is written. And he was Vriddha Sevaya. He would serve all the old and the knowledgeable. And he was always performing the sacrifices. As an ideal king, he also had to do the sacrifices to, like here, after some time, he will be performing Ashwamedha sacrifice and all. So he was a very ideal practitioner first, and that itself sets a good example. And then in dealings in the political section comes, here he is saying that the policies were unknown. So very secretly he will be able to do many very wonderful things, and no one will come to know what exactly is behind what is the reasons, what he's acting, how he's acting. And then his treasury was unknown. Also other parts of the verses, other verses share on how no one can actually conquer over him, and even the enemies would fear to come close to him. And he had a very expert espionage. Espionage means like and the spies, so they would very nicely give him the understanding of what all is going on in the kingdom and those who are in the enemies. And he was very impartial. So then divine qualities are mentioned. He was very impartial, equal to all. He was like he would punish his own son if he was wrong, and he would not punish an enemy's son even if he's somehow the enemy. So he was very impartial. He had very great tolerance like the earth, and he was very forgiving. Even if the citizens would stamp over his own head, it's like written like that. So he would be actually very tolerant and forgiving. So very divine qualities are mentioned. And with the citizens, there are certain codes of what he would ensure. So first is he would ensure that they do their varnashram duties and they worship the Lord. And also he ensured that they are protected from all the irreligious forces, and the religious personalities are like kept happy. And also he would provide all the resources, maintain all the people. Like yesterday, His Grace Anand Mahaprabhu was sharing on the verse where it comes that he was ready to even give rainfall if Indra was not doing his part of the duty. So he was ready to give the rainfall from his side as a Shakti Avishavatar. So there are many wonderful provisions that he gave. All maintenance was done. So like that, he was taking care of the citizens. He was also respectful to the women class as a mother, and he would treat his own wife as Ardhangini, as a half body. So he was very ideal in his character with the citizens also. So like that, many wonderful qualities are mentioned of how he was very ideal king. And to elaborate on what section we have today, we'll discuss briefly on the section which is mentioned in the second para on Upagupta Vittaha, which means his wealth was unknown, his treasury was unknown. And then we will discuss more on the first section where his ways of dealing, policies were quite secret, quite diplomatic, and the diplomacy was grave, it's written, and it was actually through the unlimited glorified qualities he was able to actually successfully do everything. So in the second para it's mentioned that actually the king would keep his wealth always hidden. It's not known how much he has treasury. So Srila Prabhupada is prescribing that everyone should do this. So in the Vedic times, everyone would keep lot of wealth which they had in secrecy, not publicly displayed. Unlike today, that if someone has little wealth also, they want to show off, they want to impress other people, to get some friends, little wealth, and they immediately spend it. They are always on credit card. Credit card means even before you have the wealth, you start spending it. So people earlier, they were very rich, but they would not live very extravagant. They would live very simple, and they had all the money for some good cause in the future to spend on. So that's the principle. There can be emergencies in life, and there can be nice causes for which we can offer. Oh, thank you, Haribo. So he was very expert in keeping his treasury hidden, because when we actually express what all wealth we have, then only we get envy, we don't get friends. So in the Vedic culture, it was not that someone tries to spend unnecessarily. I know many families who are very rich people, but they are actually, if they have come from the Vedic background, I'm sharing that they're like rich Vaishyas, but they don't spend so much actually. So they live very simple. Especially the previous generation. Our generation is not like that. Previous generation had that kind of a situation. So they felt happy to keep the money, not for kind of selfish purpose, but actually to give for good cause. So, yeah. So Srila Prabhupada was once visited by his son for getting some money. So Srila Prabhupada asked his Holiness Tamal Krishna Maharaj, who was sitting with him, that, so how much money we have in the bank? And then Tamal Krishna Maharaj said, oh, we have very little money, we have no money, and then we have to spend on this and that, and very little money we have. So Prabhupada turned to his son and he said, see, we have very little money, we have to maintain the temple also, so we can't give you any money. And then the son understood, oh, it is very little, so better I move on. So he moved on. And then actually Tamal Krishna Maharaj, after that he tells that Maharaj saying that we have actually this much in the account, a lot of lakhs of rupees is there in the account. Prabhupada said, yes, I wanted you to not say about it. Because, if like, this is like a first class disciple. Prabhupada just mentioned, so how much money we have? And Param Pujya Tamal Krishna Maharaj understood that Prabhupada does not want to give money, so I should not reveal the money. If he tells you, oh Prabhupada, we have so much money, what can we say? You want to give some money to your son, we can give also. But Prabhupada understood Tamal Krishna Maharaj understood Prabhupada does not want to give money to the son. So he said, we don't have any money, what to do, we have so little and all that. And then immediately, that son went away. So this is one example of how Prabhupada kept his treasury concealed, which is for for Krishna's service. And Tamal Krishna Maharaj, as a very able disciple, could see that is what is the intention of Prabhupada. So this much to this accord, about the wealth part. We'll discuss more on this diplomacy point, diplomacy and how he was very expert in keeping hidden activities. So there are many in the political world, in Rajniti, there is a lot of nitis. So there is Vidur Niti, Chanakya Niti. So in Vidur Niti, in chapter 38, text 15 and 16, it's mentioned. Yasya mantram na jananti bhaya abhyantarascha sa raja sarvatascha shuchar maishwaryam mashnute. Okay, so he says that king whose counsels cannot be known by either outsiders or those about him. That means those who know about him, they don't know what all policies he is making, but who knoweth the counsels of others through his spies. Through his spies, he comes to know what others are planning. Enjoyeth his prosperity long. So such a king will prosper for a long time. So he should know others, whatever planning are being done with them and the mantris. But his own mantris are very secret fellows actually. So he says further, Karikshan prabhasheta kritan yeva cha darshet dharma kamartha karyani tata mantro na bhidyate. One should never speak of what one intends to do. Let anything thou doest in respect of virtue, profit and desire be not known till it is done. Matlab, if you are trying to do something which is good, virtue, profit and desire, it should not be known till it is done. This is Vidurniti. Let counsels be not divulged. So one should never speak of what one intends to do. So in the Rajniti, this is actually one of the very important principles. For example, in the recent times, there was a demonetization policy. So if the demonetization had got leaked by any one person also, then suddenly all the rich fellows will start giving their money into some banks and all that. So they will do something with the money. Before the demonetization policy got released, no one was knowing. Suddenly one day, Hare Krishna. So this is Rajniti. If you have to execute policies, you have to execute in such a way that no one comes to know till it is actually done. So if we are not sharp, usually Brahmanas cannot handle this so well unless they are like Chanakya. So Rajniti is a different game. So here we see Vidur and Chanakya also said Shato Shatyam. With the cunning we have to be cunning. So there are times when a person has to keep his action hidden in order to ensure that things are done well. And no one spoils it before it is done. So without telling any governments, because governments are little political stuff, so I will not tell the government name, but then one government, they had to release some kind of a bill. They had to get it sanctioned in the parliament. So what they did was, you need a majority for that, and it was a tough bill to pass. So there are many committees which get into, like, the committee has there are many committees formed for many small agendas that are made, and those agendas require a committee to be formed of opposition party also and the ruling party also. So what this ruling party did was that they made many of the opposition party people only to go for some committee things abroad. So suddenly when they went abroad, they were having a great time, they were having hotels and all that, and they were thinking, wow, we are having a great time. And they thought, this time no one from the ruling party has come, something surprising. And suddenly that bill was announced, and they had no means to come for the voting. They said, we are out of assembly, so what to do now? So they could not vote, and the bill got passed. So first they would have thought, ruling party is so very crazy that they are sending us alone for some committees. But those committees are just for some petty causes. But this bill was very crucial. So these are all strategies. So Rajniti is very complicated subject. I have no clue to it. I'm just sharing from whatever I heard. So this Shato Shatyam, being there is, like here he is saying that just as no one can understand what is going on beneath the sea, no one could understand what policy King Prithu was following to make everything successful. Indeed, King Prithu's path of diplomacy was very grave. So one may think, oh, then we have to act very cleverly and we have to, play games. So in Krishna consciousness, we have to be very careful to not, use diplomacy with devotees. We can make a mess out of our own devotional service for that. However, devotees do use diplomacy at times in order to propagate Krishna consciousness healthily. Healthily means they are not using it for hiding some kind of mistakes or not to do some corruption or playing games with devotees only or something. That is very unhealthy. But to propagate Krishna consciousness, they may use actually. For example, in the in our Acharya's time, Sanatana Goswami was an expert politician. So he, how he had to run away. So for that he told this prison keeper, he said that, that you are like a fakir, that I want to go to Makkah. Obviously he doesn't want to go to Makkah, but that time he's Shakar Malik, so he's saying I have to go to Makkah, and will you not, as a religious man, want me to go to Makkah and all? And then he says, oh, obviously. And then he says, okay, and along with that, I will give you this 5,000 gold coins. And then he's thinking, oh, but still little more. And then he gives 2,000 more, and now it's it. But what will I tell the Nawab? And then he says, don't worry, you tell him he went to pass stool, and he was with chains, and he jumped into the river, and he must have drowned now, because with chains he cannot do anything. So he must have drowned now, bye-bye. So, this is diplomacy in one sense, but only for the purpose of being dedicated to Srila Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission. So the devotees do not misutilize diplomacy for some selfish cause. So Srila Sanatana Goswami only and Rupa Goswami prescribes that one should keep emergency fund also. 50% they gave when they were leaving, 50% they gave for Brahmanas, 25% to the family members, and Brahmanas and Vaishnavas for propagating Krishna, and 25% for the maintenance of the family, and 25% for emergencies. So you see later on when Sanatana Goswami has to run, Rupa Goswami has already left. Then Sanatana Goswami uses the fund. So one should know that there is emergencies for which one should save the fund also. And later on, Sanatana Goswami is with this Ishan, and he's at an inn. And this innkeeper is very, very loving and so kind to him, and he ati bhakti chore lakshan. He understands something. Dal mein kuch kala hai. Why is he so much, caring for me? And then he asks Ishan, because he's so worldly wise, he understands if this fellow is so kind to me, something has gone, something is there with us which he wants to take. So he asked Ishan, how much are you carrying anything precious? He said, I have got 7 gold coins. And then he takes the 7 gold coins and gives to the innkeeper. And then the innkeeper said, if you had not given me these 7 gold coins, I have an astrologer who tells how much money he has. Actually, you have 8 gold coins. So I was going to kill you and get those 8 gold coins. So where there is money, there is always this kind of envy. So he understood that this Ishan is still keeping 1 gold coin. And then he's actually, the innkeeper said, you keep these 7 gold coins. You're such a nice person. But Sanatana Goswami said, why should I keep the death nail with me? This is going to be because of my death. So better you keep and I will be free. And then he told Ishan, with your 1 gold coin, you go back home, bye-bye. I don't want such servants who create a trouble for me. And then he went on. So these are actually worldly wise devotees, pakka pure devotees, but they have a lot of worldly wisdom. They know how to handle, they know why this fellow is so kind to me. So Srila Prabhupada was also like that, and Srila Prabhupada could see fallacy, the false promises. Like there was this Mr. Price, in the Lilamrit comes. The devotees put blind faith in him that he is going to give us everything, so nice he is actually. And Prabhupada said, he is a cheater, rascal, don't put faith in him. Don't give him money till he makes the deal. And devotees were thinking Prabhupada is knave. And they made the deal, and they gave the money, The deal was never actually in their hand. And he was so much promising and everything. And finally they gave the money also. And then Prabhupada, when he heard that you have given money, he was like so angry. He said, he gave them the empowerment also to engage in Krishna service, whatever money they were getting. But then he was very angry that they misutilized it in giving it to a fraud. And later on, Prabhupada comes back and takes back this money actually. That's another leela, no? That, Prabhupada had the capacity to rewind the fraud also, so he had that expertise. Also, Prabhupada, when he was dealing with this Mr. N, so in Mr. N dealing, it comes that this is Hyderabad leela only actually. In Hyderabad it happens. Prabhupada is in Hyderabad, and this is November 11, 1972. So Prabhupada was doing a Pandal program, and many people were coming. Every time Prabhupada would sit in a car, so many people will throng and all that. And as soon as, before that, there was drought. And as soon as Prabhupada came, after that rains came. So newspaper said that the Harinam Kirtan that Srila Prabhupada and devotees did, that has brought rains. So Prabhupada agreed. Prabhupada agreed to that newspaper. So Prabhupada met Mr. N, who had come from Bombay to Hyderabad. So Shyam Sundar Prabhu had a good relationship with Mr. N, although he was very, dirty fellow in terms of his political way of working. So he wanted to cheat Prabhupada, but Prabhupada is expert. So Prabhupada is not going to be cheated. So when Mr. N wanted to talk to Prabhupada, Mr. N knew that Prabhupada has some mystical powers. So I should come with my guru. So he came with one mystical guru, and this Mr. N and his guru and Shyam Sundar Prabhu all came to Panilal Priti, where Prabhupada was staying. And Prabhupada met informally with the guest, conversing with them over prasadam, until he yawned. And then Mr. N's guru said, "Oh Swamiji, you must be very tired. We should not disturb you now. You should rest and we may talk later." And then Prabhupada said, "Oh yes, I am very tired." So Mr. N and his guru excused themselves and retired to the adjoining room. After a few minutes, Prabhupada called Tamal Krishna Goswami into his room. When someone asks you if you are tired, Prabhupada said, it means he is tired. If you go into the other room, you will see that they are sleeping. He instructed Tamal Krishna to carefully awaken Mr. N without disturbing his guru and bring him in. So Prabhupada knew this guru fellow is to be removed. Tiptoeing into the room, Tamal Krishna found both Mr. N and his guru asleep on the bed. He went over to Mr. N, touched his arm and said quietly, Mr. N, wake up. Prabhupada would like to speak with you. Come quickly." Mr. N, being roused from his slumber, obediently walked into Prabhupada's room, forgetting his guru friend. For 2 hours, Prabhupada talked with Mr. N, and by the end of the discussion, they had worked out a new sales agreement. Tamal Krishna and Shyam Sundar, working in a separate room, drafted and typed the document, while Prabhupada and Mr. N settled the final legal points. Then Mr. N signed the agreement, while his guru friend continued sleeping soundly. So this is Srila Prabhupada, So this is actually how devotee is expert, he's, how he will act. "Oh, I am very tired," Prabhupada is saying. But actually he is not tired. He is saying this fellow is tired, and that is why he is saying you are tired. So let me use this. And I am very tired. And then he got the Mr. N separate from the guru and talked it out, When Srila Prabhupada went to this Fisher mansion, so he saw all the place and he said, every room is worth the price, Every room is amazing, And he was like, and he told Brahmanand Prabhu, "You give the proposal that you give it as a donation, And then Prabhupada from his side, he said, "We are beggars, So please can you donate it?" And it was like, Peretala Zameen Sarak that Fisher mansion owner had never thought that someone can give such a proposal also. Donation, It was like made of ivory, and all things were like super resplendent. And then he said, "No, Swamiji, I can't do that. I've faced so much losses in maintaining it only. At least I have to keep up with the losses, I have to make up for the losses." So Prabhupada said, "Okay, so how much you need?" And he said, "At least I need $350,000. Okay, we will give you $3 lakh cash, down cash." And this, again, he had one, assistant or whatever. And this person, the other person was becoming restless. "What is this? No, you can't make this direct deal with the owner. I am there, no." but already deal was done, $3 lakh, tuck, finish, Of course, by the next day it got done. But Prabhupada was very, very sharp in making decisions, how to make, right decisions in situation. Many times we are very naive on such things, I am especially, I can personally say I am not ever on this kind of stuff. It is something foreign to me, but because the subject has come, so I am sharing from the pastimes of the Prabhupada and the Acharyas. So Srila Prabhupada was grave, and we can't understand how he acted. So I just shared with you certain kind of dealings where he was diplomatic in order to get things for Krishna. We can also think about things where Prabhupada was grave. Here one word is used, Gambhira. So he was very Gambhir. Devotees were always trying to understand what is Prabhupada thinking, but they could never think. And eventually they understood and realized that we can never understand the pure devotee's mind. Vaishnavara Kriya Mudra Vigyana Bujaya. So Srila Prabhupada, one time he was in one place and then devotees wanted to show one place for temple. So devotees took him there and he said, okay, how much it is? And then they told the price was very heavy. He said, oh, it's so costly. Why to purchase anxiety? We live simple, And then devotee said, yeah, why should we purchase anxiety? And then again, Srila Prabhupada one more time, yeah, so you told about that place. Let's see once more actually. And he saw that place. And then he said, okay, what time? What money you told? Oh, this is too much, I think. Why to purchase anxiety, And this has happened two times. Now, last time when Prabhupada is about to leave, so he said, okay, let me see once more. And he took them, and then, so how much? So the devotee said, this much, Prabhupada. And Prabhupada says, so what do you think? No, Prabhupada, why to purchase anxiety? We must purchase anxiety, otherwise simply eat, sleep and fall down, And devotees are like, Prabhupada, you only. so what is there in the heart of a great soul, we cannot decipher very easily, Also, Prabhupada, one time, he was relishing a drama. This is how the Pandavas retire timely. It's a very huge drama they did. From very many chapters of the first canto they are sharing, And then, so Prabhupada was relishing it so nicely. The devotees are doing such wonderful drama. And after that drama, Prabhupada immediately, actually devotees thought he is blissful, but Prabhupada immediately after that became very grave. And he said, I can see all of your dedication and I am an old man, I can leave any moment, but I can see that now Lord Chaitanya's movement is in the safe hands. So seeing the drama, it is not like he is enjoying like some kind of like, sometimes children enjoy, Acha lag raha hai, drama ho raha hai, No, he was actually seeing the sweetness of the pastime coming through, and he was also seeing the dedication of the Vaishnavas who were doing the drama. They're so sincere in their expressions. And he then could see that these devotees can actually take at the moment if they have such relish of the pure devotion service principles coming from Srimad Bhagavatam. So Prabhupada is always grave in all situations, no matter whether it is a joyful externally or some kind of external like political or diplomatic thing to do, or somewhere sad. Like there are some photos of Prabhupada where he apparently looks very sad. So he's looking little sad. So devotees asked Prabhupada, he said that these are some of my most ecstatic moments actually. So we should not misunderstand if we think Prabhupada's face is sullen or something, so he may be sad. No, it may be very deep ecstasy actually. And Prabhupada could think deeper than what people could see. That we see in the morning walks, wherever he looked, he would see something which devotees were not seeing. They were seeing something, but they were not seeing what Prabhupada was seeing. And not only in the morning walk, all the time, it was like that. Like Prabhupada saw one dustbin in Spain. It was written in Spanish something, and devotees asked, oh, Prabhupada, what is written there? Throw your garbage in me was written. Prabhupada said, oh, then we have to throw the whole material world in this, And then Prabhupada went closer and saw some rats enjoying. And then Prabhupada said, see, the materials are like these rats enjoying the garbage of this world, and death van will come and take them away, but they don't understand it. Like that Prabhupada, one time he saw the bird dropping and he said, what do you understand from this? And devotees were really embarrassed about that. What to understand about bird dropping? Prabhupada, bird dropping, And then Prabhupada eventually revealed that means, see, they have passed tool at the same place. That means everyone wants to have stability in their life. So they are looking for stability. Like that, Prabhupada gave so many, like moment after moment. It was another ecstasy to just move with Prabhupada and see what Prabhupada would next reveal through seeing the ordinary and reveal the divine. So Prabhupada was always seeing things on a divine platform. He saw a truck and devotees were thinking this truck, Prabhupada is seeing, he's relishing the Western technology. And Prabhupada saw the truck and then he said, yeah, we can do a Rath Yatra on this, using the first Rath Yatra, like that. So also Prabhupada, when he will chastise, when he will show mercy in the form of being kind externally, it is Vaishnava is soft like a rose and hard like a thunderbolt. So a devotee should know that anytime a Vaishnava brings out something, it is coming from pure love of Krishna. And what will come out is what is required for that jiva. So Prabhupada could not be predicted, but whatever was coming out was pure love. So like this, there are so many examples we can share. Also in the next generation Vaishnavas, we can think of some, like when Srila Prabhupada told his own Tamal Krishna Maharaj to go to Mayapur. So to get so much land under Iskcon name is an impossibility, and that too when it's all Muslim owned, and that also when Srila Tamal Krishna Maharaj is a Western bodied personality. But overnight he did deals with all the people. Srila Prabhupada had personally tied 2 lakh rupees as a belt in his hair, and then he purchased so much land for Iskcon with multiple deals happening all over one night, and made it all happen and came back to Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada, the land is yours. So the devotees actually have expertise of how to deal with situations which are very difficult otherwise, but they know how to make it happen for Krishna. Also one time one young Mataji was there in one of the temples, and the brahmacharis were there and the whole team was going for a yatra. So the spiritual master of these brahmacharis, he saw that this Mataji is there and she is just roaming around and only few brahmacharis are there. So this Maharaj told that, you should send her also for the yatra. So all the brahmacharis were thinking, oh, how compassionate Maharaj is. He is trying to help this girl get more shelter of the dham also. But then Maharaj revealed, actually, I am taking her so that you remain protected. Because you are here and she is also here and she is just roaming around and you are young brahmacharis, she should not, So that's why Maharaj was saying. So we do not know why the great soul is saying what he is saying, So there are many hidden things which are actually with deep gravity of what will be good for the world. And that's how the great souls act. So we cannot ever understand the great soul fully, but we can act in the full obedience to them to actually develop more of our Krishna consciousness. So we should have great faith in their pure love coming out in whatever form it comes. So with this I close. Time is up. Yes. Thank you very much. Any comments by His Grace Anandmaya Prabhuji? Anything you would like to share? I am a small child before, I may have made a mistake. Prabhuji, please correct me. Give mind. Okay. Okay. Hare Krishna. Any questions? Any devotees have any questions? Okay. So, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. Interesting happened for Prabhupada.